This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
A very good evening to everyone, and thank you if you're joining us live. We often, when the four of us get together to do the main podcast, we often do this in person, but this one's on virtual, and we're going to be, and it's also live as well. We're doing it live as well. So a good evening.
You didn't tell us that it was live.
Good evening, Jason. How are you? The Lord himself.
Living the dream. I've had the kids all weekend. Amy's been away. She needed some much needed rest and relaxation. So she left me with the kids. So it's been, that's why all my hair's going now. Flipping Joan.
Is she coming back, Jace? Is she coming back? That's all we need to know.
She got back about an hour ago. So she's
really that's great.
I'm straight up here on a podcast. But yeah, we had a nice weekend.
Fantastic. Evening, Manny. How are you, mate?
Evening, I'm fine. Yeah, busy. Sunday's always busy. I try and just focus a little bit more on the faith, and thankfully it's a free weekend for us. So yeah, I haven't really watched any international games or anything, so I've just been football free this weekend.
And we're also going to be going over to Dr. Paul Mansell, and as this has been mentioned many times, James Eden said it's just occurred. Paul Mansell looks like a lot like Diogo Jota. How many times have you had that, Paul?
I've had a few random people come up to me at matches and say it, but my response is I wish I could play like him.
Well, we will be fine. We'll be finding out soon enough.
You don't look like Diego Costa.
We'll find out soon enough, won't we, mate? Because we've got a charity event that we're organising for the foundation, and that's going to be announced hopefully really, really soon. It's something quite exciting. The agenda for tonight, it was going to be the pre-season podcast, but obviously it was called off, postponed last minute because my mum was taken poorly and obviously passed away 3 weeks ago. We do have the funeral on Tuesday. I know quite a few of you have said, about donations and stuff and flowers and things. Well, we're just doing family-only flowers. And if you did want to make a donation, my mum did pass away from heart failure in the end. So it would be, if you wanted to do any contributions, it would be to the British Heart Foundation. That's what she wanted. So if any of you wanted to do that to support heart research and stuff like that, the British Heart Foundation would be the place to do that. We've got a great agenda. It was the pre-season podcast. It's now going to be the new season podcast. And as part of that, we're going to be talking about the early season form. We're going to be talking about Gary O'Neill first impressions. I know Manny wants to get talking about the leadership team, so we'll talk about that as well. We'll talk about the transfer window and goals. You're also going to get our season predictions. And towards the end, we're going to be, Jason has got the new book, which is absolutely fantastic, which we're going to tell you a lot more about. And if you want to get one of these fantastic new books, Tales from the Tape Volume 2, stick around for that, because that's going to be fantastic to hear about. And then Manny, as always, has got lots of fundraising going on. He was at the Wolves women game raising money for the foundation on Wednesday, and there's more details that you can tell us about the next Samosa Saturday, and of course Manny Miles, and we're going to be talking about that. Now, just before we get stuck into it, guys, I need to tell you about this fantastic deal that we've got at the moment with NordVPN. NordVPN, basically, we've got a deal whereas you can get a massive discount with them at the moment. So I'm just going to put this up on the screen and just tell you a little bit more about this, because I've used NordVPN for ages when I go abroad, on my phone, when I go watching stuff on my, different things and stuff like that. And people can find it really, really useful for protecting your privacy and that sort of stuff. You can put it on your TV. You get one subscription for the year. And we've got a deal. If you go on to NordVPN/AlwaysWolves, instead of paying £184.52 for the year, for 2 years, you're only going to need to pay £67.23, which works out at £2.40 a month, and it works on all your devices in your home: iPads, computers, mobile phones, TVs, the lot, and it's super quick and it's really good. So if you ever fancy watching American Netflix or things like that, you can tap into all of that. The link's also in the description below. So let me know if you're using Nord. I know a few of you are. Right, let's get stuck in. Jason, Gary O'Neill in post. How are you thinking it's going with him at the moment?
I mean, you can't lay any of the blame at Gary O'Neill's door too early on in the season, on the basis that he's only had a week pre-season to work with the players. Yes, he's got some new incomings now, and I suppose we he does need to be judged, but as early as the season is at the minute, I don't think we can judge him. I suppose at the time it was a bit of an underwhelming appointment, but I think we had to make a quick decision. It's clearly someone they liked and fancied, because yes, I say it was a quick decision, but this situation with Lopetegui's probably been brewing along for a while, where he's unhappy, and we could tell that by the various media reports. So for me, I'm completely trusting in him. From what I've heard from him in his post-match interviews, he seems very methodical in his thinking and the way he speaks, and he communicates very well. So, that's all a positive. He's a good young manager. Yes, he briefly had a go at Bournemouth, but once again, it was only a short period. So I'm fully behind him. The least now we mention about Lopetegui, the better, because I think we all got excited on what it was going to be like underneath him, and it really flattered to deceive. So I'm fully behind Gary O'Neill. He hasn't had the greatest rub of the green so far. Fantastic performance against Manchester United, first game of the season. I thought, Wolves really applied themselves well. We was robbed at the end. We was attacking well, plenty of shots on goal. The other matches, especially the Palace one, I was so disappointed. But it's a long, hard season. We've got Liverpool coming up. I just hope now that he looks at some of these new players that he signed. I know Enzo's literally only 18 years of age, but it's important he bloods him in very quickly, I believe, because normally they don't do that with these 18-year-olds, as we've seen with Silva. Normally they give them time, but I don't think we've got time on our side at the minute. And secondly, just give the lad a chance, because with this squad of players as it's been, played 4, lost 3, won 1, it's not a great start to the season. So I think we need to make some changes pretty sharpish.
Absolutely great points. Manny, over to you next. And by the way, Manny, I've saw Manny on Wednesday night, and he's got the new away top, the Pro Edition, and he absolutely rocks it. That it goes so good with you.
My son bought it me, man. I'm a replica buyer, I am. He goes, Dad, you got to have the Pro. And to be honest, it is chalk and cheese when you put them side by side. When you buy just the replica, it's a decent top, but when you put it side by side to the Pro, you think, wow, it shows all your bumps off. It's very, honestly, it's really well made, and I do like it. I don't like the red one. It still hasn't grown on me, the red one. I've seen people wear it, and it doesn't seem like it still doesn't seem like a Wolves top when you see red tops around modelling user.
I'm really not a fan of the red either, to be honest. I mean, like you guys who are watching it live in the chat, or if you're watching it back on catch up in the comments, do you prefer the third kit or the red kit? Didn't they say it's got an Iberic slant to it, which is obviously Spanish? So we had all this done for Lopetegui,
and then he legs it.
Could have been brilliant.
I know, but yeah, the third kit looks really good. So picking up on the points with Gary O'Neill, man.
Gary O'Neill, you know what? Start of the season, I sort of said knife edge appointment, and I still stand by that. I think the problem he's got is we've lost 3 out of 4. So if that becomes 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7, then he wasn't an appointment that fans had the chance to get behind. It was sort of made behind closed doors very quickly, because they knew what was happening with Lopetegui. We sort of didn't. He gets sacked one day, next day we get a brand new manager in. So we haven't had a chance to speculate, talk about who we'd like, who's available. It's literally done and dusted. So for me, that puts much more pressure on him. Unfortunately, I would like to see him get time, but I just think, you know, for example, I mean, Liverpool at home, it's a tough game, you know, but then you got Luton, and then you've got to be picking up points, haven't you? You've got to be picking up points, because if that turns into 5 defeats out of 6, then the pressure ramps up even more. So, however, the hierarchy might be with him, you know, owners, we've seen in the past, everyone gets a bit nervous. Oh my God, who have we appointed? Is it, you know, because if you look at our home games, mate, it's one of the most horrifically hard starts you could ever imagine. You know, you got Liverpool, then you got City, then you got Villa, then you got Newcastle. So it's like, you know, there's no respite at all. You're facing some really top clubs, and I just hope, for the sake, he can get a home victory more than anything. You know, we've played a couple at home, and sorry, we've only played the one, haven't we? Brighton. We've only played the one.
Played 4, and we've had the 3.
That's strange. I don't know how you work that out. So we had 3 away games. On the tactics, I have to say, apart from 10-minute spells against maybe Brighton and Palace, the rest of, if you take those 10 or 15-minute madness bits, the rest of it has been fairly encouraging. Okay, Everton away wasn't a very good performance, but we dug in, we scrapped, we defended, and we scored. Man United was pretty sensational, let's be honest. Whether that was, some people say, oh, well, that's the end of the Lopetegui pre-season, blah, 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 or if it's anything to do with, only time will tell. Against Palace, I thought, you know, for long periods, especially that first half, we were well in that game and everything looked right. He has made obviously good calls, but he's also made some that we question. For example, taking off a striker when we've just scored. Yeah, when we just scored and he takes a striker off. That's all that Palace need to give them a bit of a lift to go again. So I think I'm pretty sure he sits back and thinks, because he's probably thinking, like we would, if we get a point at Palace, you know, Everton and Palace, 2 away games, 4 points. Yeah, we're on the board. So we're not far away from actually an okay-ish start. If we'd have got a draw at Palace, we would all sit here thinking, okay, we've got 4 points, 4 games with United and Brighton. Maybe that's all we could probably expect. But I just don't think he will get the time that other appointments would, because of the way it's happened. I just hope, you know, obviously fans stay behind him. You know, if you concede a couple of early goals against Liverpool and suddenly, you know, things aren't going right, or the pattern of play doesn't look right, still think we haven't really decided either on the pattern of play. So I'm still waiting for O'Neill to really pin his, you know, in the cup match he went to 3 at the back, didn't he? And he sort of bought an extra defender in. Is that to play in that style? We've got wing backs that suit us, maybe with a 3 with Doherty and, you know, even Aït-Nouri and Smaida and people like that probably pay better as a wing back. And so I think there's still a lot that he has to get right and do. These 2 weeks I think are crucial. 2 weeks without, even though a few of his players have gone abroad, most of his players he's got, like, especially the new boys, and he can try and get them into the team, because we need a bit of a boost. And this Bellegarde, you know, is the sort of a little bit of a hope for me, because he's a midfielder
he looked good in that training video. He looks like,
mate, I've looked good in training videos, trust me.
I know,
training videos. Gary O'Neill looked good in that training video.
He'd actually. But, you know, I'm hoping, like, again, the signings have come in obviously late. You know, and we obviously Doyle, I thought he'd be involved in the last squad. It obviously got a knock. He should be back after the international break as well. So we've got hopefully a couple of creative players in the middle of the park, which I think we were lacking, that hopefully will get integrated. Paul, over to you. I mean, it'd be really interesting to hear your kind of reflection on the appointment and how it's gone so far, and your sort of what you're picking out of what he's taken so far from the games.
Yeah, I mean, focusing on the appointment for a start, I actually felt it was a pretty positive appointment, because if you cast your mind back to last August, Bournemouth had just lost 9-0 at Liverpool. Was it under Scott Parker?
Yeah.
And then Gary O'Neill came in the next game and got a goal to straw against us. If you'd have asked any football fan in the country at that point, are Bournemouth going down, 99% or maybe even 100 would have said yes. He kept them up comfortably in the end. They nearly finished above us.
Do you know that they just as a point of order, they were actually 16th when he took over. They wasn't in the bottom three, and they finished 15th, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was early in the season, but before a ball was kicked, everyone was writing Bournemouth off, and then they lost 9-0, and then everyone was definitely writing them off. And he has. I've heard people saying he's got a bit of a reputation as being pragmatic, but there were performances under him with Bournemouth last season, like Tottenham away, where they won 3-2. Really good attacking performance. They did a job on us, didn't they, at Molineux as well, with a 1-0. So when he was announced, I actually was fairly encouraged. I mean, it didn't blow me away like a Lopetegui type appointment. But then who are we to really demand an elite manager when we're a bottom half of the Premier League team right now? So, yeah, I mean, I didn't have any major complaints about the appointment. And I think so far from his games, it's probably yielded roughly what we expected in terms of points. If you're really optimistic, you might have hoped for 4 or 5. We're on 3, but it should have been more than 3, shouldn't it, after that performance at Old Trafford, especially. So I'm neither really concerned nor really excited. I think we're about where we are at the moment. And I just hope this international break has come at a good time for him, with the new signings coming in, to start to forge that identity that we hope to see over the next few weeks and months.
Oh, it's a good point. My thoughts on it is that when it was originally rumoured, I was like, what type of thing? But, I was like that. But obviously with all the stuff that went on with the Lopetegui, which we're not going to go over, and, we've heard stuff on that. He's coming, he wants the job. He's coming very, very short notice. I mean, only last week he brought in another coach. So he's still been building his backroom team as he goes, really. Yeah. One thing I was worried about with would be just sitting back and putting 10 men behind the ball and hopefully nick something. And that's what Bournemouth did against Wolves when they won 1-0. I mean, it came up, it was one shot on target which come off his knee and they beat us, but we couldn't break them down. But that shows a lot of good organisation. But the Man United game, I thought he could have easily have gone to United and gone, they were so positive. And the way we ran with the ball, he obviously encouraged them to do that, to go out. And we played really, really well. And we should have at least got a point, if not more, out of that game. The Brighton game, as Manny mentioned, apart from the 10 minutes in the second half where we just sort of fell apart, 1, 2, 3 goals, we had chances at 1-0 down, 2 real clear chances which we didn't take to go 1-1. If they'd have gone on half-time 1-1, who knows what would have happened in the second half. And we could have collapsed as well, but we did fight back a bit, which showed character. The Everton game was just after the Núñez, obviously all stuff going, and we missed his creativity. I know, he's gone and he down tools, and he will get, without a shadow of a doubt, a really vocal a welcome back to Molineux by the fans when he does come back. But we saw where we missed him in that game because we didn't have any creativity. We didn't make the runs. The second half the change of 8-0, we started to get belief, and then we got the goal and we got the win. We always, Wolves manager's first win, the last 3 managers, has been against Everton, I think, and we always do them. And then the Palace game, like what Manny mentioned as well, I thought the first 20 minutes against Palace, we were so comfortable in possession. We looked so in control, and then obviously Sarr does that, what Sarr does from time to time. And then they sort of changed the momentum. They should have scored, Kilman off the line. and then even the start of the second half, I thought we were like first 5 or 10 minutes, and then they scored that goal where they just got round the back of us, and and then we kind of like, fought back, and then he made a good substitution with Wang, and then he made the substitution, which in hindsight I think he'll reflect on. Boubacar had his chance, luck lost, we lost control of the game. We've lost Manny for a second. his internet's gone, and then obviously we ended up losing the game, which was really, really disappointing. The Blackpool game I thought was quite positive, and I know it's Blackpool, but how many times, Paul and Jason, have we lost those sort of games in the Carabao Cup?
I always say about these games, you can only beat what's in front of you, Dave. And I think in the, especially the position we're in, we're not challenging for titles. We've got to play our best side in these competitions, especially to give us half a chance. So you can only beat what's in front of you. It was a convincing win. It's minutes for certain players. It's also confidence, when Silva scores and a couple of the other lads, it's a confidence booster. So, and yes, in the past, we have had a banana skin against these teams, and there's nothing more frustrating. If we'd have lost to Blackpool, there'd have been a certain sector of the crowd going, "What's O'Neill doing?" So, yeah. I think it's important that you do play your best sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one that I think he's got a bit of time on his hand, Gary O'Neill, because of obviously coming in late, that we have got that result, that we have played well in games, but we did look vulnerable at the back. The new defender that's coming in hopefully will help. The two creative midfielders hopefully will help. But is it Bertrand or whatever? I can't think of the guy's name. The extra midfield, the two midfielders. Well, Enzo, that's it as well. So it'd be interesting to see how that one pans out. But these are all 4 new signings, which are going to have time to bed in. Paul, how do you think he's going to integrate them into the squad come the Liverpool game?
It's really tough, isn't it? Because a lot of these players are unknowns to us. They're not Premier League players that we know and recognise. Some people may have seen a bit of Doyle last season on loan at Sheffield, so we probably know a bit more about him. But I don't think we'll see wholesale changes for that Liverpool match. I think if anyone comes in, I know he's had a knock, but he's probably the most ready to come in. I mean, he's had a good summer away with England under 21s, hasn't he, as well? So, yeah, a lot of unknown quantities, really. But I was pleased that we actually did some business, because if you rewind back 2 weeks or so, it looked like our only signing really was going to be Doherty and Tom King, the third choice goalkeeper. So late flurry of activity, I think, was somewhat unexpected, but I'm glad that we actually managed to get some people through the door that can help us.
Yeah, I think you're right. What's your take on that, Jason?
Yeah, like I said, I think it's important that there's no competition for places. I was pleased with the signings. There's been polls online and people are going, no, it wasn't a very good window. Yeah, because we haven't been signing players for 30, 40 million quid. But look, that hasn't put us in the best of health neither. So I'm encouraged by the signings. Matt Hobbs, clearly, I'm a lot more confident in Matt Hobbs than I was in Scott Sellers. And I think Matt Hobbs has his eyes on these players. We're now going into the South American market, which is, here he is, our new signing.
I apologise, device overheating. Carry on.
Device overheating. It looks like you're doing that on a potato, Manny. What's going on?
Mate, honestly, it's a nightmare. My laptop's packed up, so I'm on a phone. And anyway, carry on.
Anyway, you're on a Nokia. But yes, we are penetrating the South American market now, and a lot of Premier League clubs are leaning that way. So I'm encouraged by the signings, especially the defender, because we're all talking about the creative attacking plays, and that is important because we do need to feed balls into the box for Kalajdzic, who we know is going to be good in the air, and Silva. But equally, I think the worry is, and if you look at the first 4 games, the amount of goals we have conceded, the worry is that the defence, and I don't think it's as strong as it's been. So I think it's encouraging that this player's come in, because at least it keeps the players on their toes.
Absolutely. Manny, we've been just talking about how he's going to integrate the 4 new players. We welcome talk about the goals in a minute, but if you could just talk about how you think he's going to integrate the new players after the international break. And also, I know you want to then lead into this leadership roles that you wanted to talk about. If you could sort of lead on that.
Yeah, no problem. So, it's quite clear that we went into this season just devoid of goals, and we wanted a solution to our goal scoring. Now, we haven't properly found that yet, but guess what? All 5 strikers at the club, if you include Hwang, Fraser, Silva, Sasha, Cunha and Hwang, have all scored a goal already in one game or another, and that probably didn't happen all season last season. So we have got people up front. We just don't know how to play them. I feel like sometimes we've got too many sub-type players. Like Silva would probably be good on the bench, and so would Sasha, and so would Hwang, and who starts and which is a perfect combination. But I think we've suddenly got options there. The worry for us has been now suddenly we've got this soft underbelly, and not just the defence. I just felt Lamina and Gomez, as good as they are, the longer the match goes on, sometimes you feel like there's a drop off, and maybe that's they do pick up a lot of bookings because they're so in your face, and once you've had one booking, you're probably hanging back a little bit, or not diving in as much as you should, or making that clever professional foul on the halfway line to stop an attack because that means you're gone. It just seems there's something wrong there, and Dawson and Kilman have been very similar at the back. There's not one that covers the other. They both seem to just play on the same line. There's not one goes behind if one goes forward, and we seem to get caught out in the centre of our goal as well. So teams are like sort of coming through the centre as well. So that's a bit of a worry for me. Now we've got Totti on the bench, who's never put a foot wrong. We've also got this.
He does everything on the basics really well.
He clears the ball. He heads the ball out the way. He's probably got a little bit more pace than Dawson and Kilman as well. So him and this Santiago Bueno, who I don't know much about. I know they conceded 55 goals last season. His team did, which is sort of par probably for the position they finished in. Didn't really play this season for them, so it became available. Really hope he's sort of the answer, but he seems like another big, tall defender. So whether he brings him in, whether there's going to be this shock switch to a 3 at the back, something needs to happen at the back a little bit. And leading on to that is, when you concede, you just want somebody on the pitch to be the organizer, somebody who just pulls people together, gets them together, maybe does a little bit of a huddle again, and obviously
Manny, I am missing the huddle. That's gone.
Mate, you know what? Honestly, I think it makes a difference, because we used to Connor Cody for years, and Connor was, captain, fantastic. He had his own way. He shouted for England, and literally, it sort of G'd a lot of people up, and it also G'd you up as a fan. Ruben was slightly different, but he did his performances on the pitch, diving around, bodies in the way, protecting the defence, running back into his penalty area. He played like a captain. And now I'm looking at that pitch, and against Palace, I was looking, and as soon as we conceded that second, and you could see a little bit of heads go down, you think, who's the person going around everybody and just geeing them up and saying, come on, lads, get your heads up, or pulling people, or shouting at people, or having a go at somebody for not making the right runs? And we don't see that. And Kilman, not every captain needs to rant and rave, but we're sort of, at Wolves, we're used to having our captains having a bit of a go. And he strikes me as somebody who can probably feel the burden of being captain, and all he needs to concentrate is defending and being a defender. Mate, I'd use an analogy with Joe Root when he was captain of England. His batting suffered. They'd made Ben Stokes the captain, and Joe Root starts scoring hundreds every other game. And I don't know whether it was because he was already a vice captain, whether he was already, sort of in that. But I see people like Lamina, who's a much more natural-looking captain, as in he seems a bit vocal. Obviously, Dawson seems fairly obvious to everybody, but something there because he's not even in the so-called leadership group, which is Lamina and Sarabia. So Sarabia, you do see him in the videos talking to a lot of the new signings, probably because he's the only one who can talk their lingo. So there's probably a good idea to have somebody from, Spain or Portugal in your leadership team because he can get around, especially those new players. But I do worry about the on-field captaincy when things are going a bit wrong, when we just conceded a goal, just to regroup, manage the game, tell each other what we're going to do now and then we've conceded 2, 3, twice we've conceded a glut of goals very quickly.
And that's not a great habit to get into, is it?
It's not. And Max, just people do pick apart all the reveal videos, and they say, oh, he's just standing there, he's not really. And people will do that because you look at your captain and you want to see him on the training videos, and you look at Connor Cody, the way Connor Cody was as a captain. If a new signing came in, Connor was all over him. He was laughing and joking. He was like, he was the one with the arm around him, showing him everything. This is that. Kilman just ain't that type of person. Just doesn't seem that type of character. No slight. That's just the character he is. He's not. I'm pretty sure he's not banging the door down saying, "Make sure you please make me captain." It's obviously being selected by the hierarchy or the players, and I just think it's something that needs looking at.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously Gary's come in, and obviously Kilman signed an extension of a contract. Possibly part of that is that we're going to keep you on as captain. He didn't want to rock the boat. I mean, when was it that came in and back in the day and made the bomb squad the captain and changed the dynamic? He wants to keep that dynamic. Jason, the leadership team, Manny brought up, I think it's a really, really good point to talk about. Leadership off the pitch, leadership in the game. What are you seeing? What's your views on that? And then we're going to come to Paul, and hopefully Paul can talk a little bit about the psychological side of things to do with that leadership.
Historically, and you can go back 10, 20, 30, 40 years, there's always been in and around the squad a leader, in terms of there's been an obvious choice. Whereas now that isn't, that in this squad, in this group of players, for me, there doesn't seem an obvious choice. And I think you're quite right. That's why it's fell at sort of Max Kilman's lap, really. I don't know if it's been a show of hands in the dressing room, but for me, he wouldn't be the obvious choice. For him, I don't think he's not going to be standing up saying, I want to be the captain. You're quite right, Manny. So it's a bit of a strange one. I suppose the one player you would look at, and this is only down to his experience, would be Craig Dawson, and say, well, do you know what? It's the Premier League. Your lead from the back is a defender. He would be the obvious choice for me. And I'm surprised that he's not even in the leadership squad, to be honest. I suppose I can understand Sarabia once again with the language, but equally as well, he's got some experience, and he's a good player, as we've seen now. He's coming good. But yeah, I don't think there's a leader. We've had Cody, Neves, of late. You can go back, as far as from the McCarthy era. Before that, obviously, Paul Ince under Dave Jones. Yeah. And there's always been a real captain, Carl Henry, Jody Craddock. These are people that would put the neck on the line, that would stand
Paul
up.
Butler. Yeah.
Absolutely. For me, and we say, there's no huddle. And I get that, and I'm sure there is a benefit to it. There's clearly I think these things have just been watered down. I don't think it's been a conscious effort. Should we do a huddle today? I think at some point it's been watered down and almost forgotten. I don't think they've subconsciously gone, oh, we won't do the huddle anymore. And
I think it's a Lopetegui thing. I do.
Well,
I think he's the one that stopped it. It stopped with him.
Possibly. The thing that's been frustrating from my point of view, and I think we mentioned it briefly, touched upon it last time, was the video that went out there with the when the players come out onto the pitch. You could see, I think it was
the Brighton players running out and our lot ambling out.
And the Brighton players, looked up for it, running out, chests puffed out, and then we come sauntering out, and I don't know if they've had a bollocking or what, and they're hunched up, and body language is all over the place, and they're just looking round, and they don't seem to be, they should be fired. They should be coming out to get something to win that game. And that for me was, and it was at Molineux, and you just think, come out and just, and what Wolves used to do under Nuno, I'm not harping back to the other eras, but on the sidelines, Matinho and the coaches they'd be doing sprints, getting ready for the game, getting the blood pumping. They don't seem to be doing that anymore. They seem to just be coming out, and I'm sure they're organised. I'm sure they've spoke about what they need to at half time, but for me, the urgency isn't there.
Yeah, I think you make some good points, Paul. I really like. Obviously, I know that you got your doctorate in the psychology side of sport, and if you don't know, Paul is actually teaches at Staffordshire University on the subject of this and wider afield as well. The psychology of the leadership team in terms of like the off-field and on-field captain. What have you seen in the performances that you've watched so far this season, and what is lacking, do you think, from a leadership? Do you agree with what Manny and Jason are saying, or do you think that's superficial?
I'll try and keep my answer quite concise because I could talk for quite a long time about this. Probably the first thing to say is that often the issue of captaincy is more important for the fans than it is within the club itself. We see it as quite emblematic. We see it as a real big thing, maybe, and the players less so. Second point I wanted to make is that it should be a collective responsibility. It's not just down to one person who's got the armband to get people going, to organise people, to motivate people. It's anybody can do that. So I think it should be encouraged, that others should be stepping up as well, not just Kilman. A slightly linked topic maybe, and it was mentioned in commentary against Crystal Palace, is the other lads have said there's not much to choose from in terms of other leaders, and linked to that, there's not much Premier League know-how really. We've lost Ruben, who's played, probably getting on for 200 games for us. Lost Connor. These are players who've got lots of know-how. And if you look at a lot of our players, they perhaps don't have that same level of Premier League know-how or experience. But coming back to the psychology of it, a real, in terms of the theory, a real key theme is, can a leader bring people together? So it's not necessarily about a good leader being born as a leader to be this tub-thumping, chest-banging leader, this great man theory, as it's called. The most modern way of thinking is called the social identity form of leadership. And in that theory, good leaders, effective leaders, make people feel like they belong to the team. And when they do that, it makes them try harder. It makes them see stress as more helpful, all these kind of things. And my reservation about Kilman, as nice a guy as he is, does he bring people together? Does he make other players on the pitch feel like they want to go the extra mile for the team? So that's just some of my reflections, but I'll probably cut it short there because I could talk for a long time about it.
Mate, this is, really, really, really insightful. And I think it's really interesting because you're right on the cutting edge of psychology and sports psychology. So I think it's really interesting for all the fans to understand that there are different forms of leadership. It's not just, as you say, about banging the chest and stuff like that. And I'm going to obviously come back to Manny, who's moved again.
Mate, you know what? I've opened the window, put my phone next to the window to keep it cool because it says it keeps overheating. I'm going to upgrade from the what's the next phone after the Nokia 3310? Have they bought another one?
The 3320.
Manny's been playing Snake on it.
Oh, God, the good old day. Yes, I'm going to come back to you guys on what Paul's been saying. But, Paul, I think it's really important how you sort of putting that across. And from your point of view, that you're looking at Wolves and the leadership team, what style of leadership do you think Max brings to the team? What's his style and, what's his strengths?
I don't know him well enough to comment. We can only judge from what we see as fans on the sideline. He seems calm. He seems in control. You don't see him get flustered. You don't see him with poor discipline. So I guess what that might lead to is that you hope that he leads by example, that his behaviours are contagious amongst other players in terms of being calm under pressure, in terms of not getting carried away, not getting in referees' faces, not losing the discipline. So that would probably be my opinion from looking at him from the outside. But the other guys have mentioned, and this is so important, it's not just on a match day, it's the stuff around the club. So Connor, when there was a new signing coming in, before they'd even got to the training ground, he'd get hold of their mobile number and start texting them saying, welcome, if there's anything you need, I'm your man type thing. And I think that kind of, Max might well do that himself, but those kind of behaviours really make people feel like they belong to that group. And when they do that, they try harder, they perform better and so on. So the short answer, I guess, he would probably be a leader who leads by example so that others follow that.
That's a really good point. Manny, back to you on what Paul said.
I think what it is like, for fans, we can only judge on what we see. That's the thing. So there's a lot of stuff, obviously, we don't see. So someone like Connor, we just mentioned there, texting people, he was pretty obvious. He was in your face. He was like with us, the same way he was probably with the players. So it was obvious to us that he was that type of a leader, and Max obviously doesn't show that. And at the end of the day, whatever type of leader we have, it's got to work. It's got to work. And when you sort of, things happen on the pitch, and you think, you look around, you do, don't you? It's like when we're quiet in the crowd. When we're quiet in the crowd, we look around to somebody to start the chant off, so we can get behind the team again. We do look around, don't you? And you've always had naturally some of the great captains, right at the top of their game, who have made it, have always been pretty much seen on the pitch. You know that they're there because they're cajoling, and it happens in all teams. All teams. I'll go back to the days of Brian Robson and people like that. They were always, you knew who the captain was on the pitch. And yeah, there may be different types of leaders, but that different type of leadership has also got to work as well. Maybe it is, but is it working, like you said, in behind the scenes, because he's quite calm and he's somebody easy to approach and talk to things about. But on the pitch, we need something as well. And I think the longer, if our results go downhill, it's something that naturally you're going to look at, aren't you? You're going to naturally look at it and think, oh, are we lacking there somewhere? And we shouldn't just sit back thinking that, yeah, that's it, he's just that type of leader. You should always have a look and see what can we do something better? Can we help him? Is there something that he needs? Is there another player? Shall we vocally and physically appoint a new vice captain? So we all know, yeah, Lamine or Dawson is the vice captain. So there's another, focus there for us. For example, if he walks off the pitch, who does he pass the armband on? We'll probably all like guess, won't we? Thinking who will he give it to? So I just think it's not the most important thing in the world, but I think where we've gone into this season, sort of rudderless, lost our manager, last minute appointment, we need to see leaders standing up. We need to stand up and be counted and say, look, we know it's going to be tough, but we're here and we're going to give it a right go. And time will tell.
Absolutely. Jason, just finish off on the leadership thing, and then we're going to just talk about the goals. And guys, I just want you to know we will be talking towards the end of the thing. Jason's got the new book out, and we're going to get an update on the Samosa Saturday as well today. And also, if you've got any questions for us for the panel, make sure you save them for the end, and then you can direct them at any individual one of the panel tonight, or all of us, but save your questions up for us for the last 10 minutes of the podcast. So yeah, Matt, Jason, just you want to finish off your thoughts on the leadership, and then someone who's used to scoring goals yourself and penalties and things like that. We're going to talk about goals. Do you see that there's an improvement? Do you feel more confident about Wolves scoring goals this season as well, or are you still concerned?
No, I mean, just to finish off on the leadership point, Manny, that's a good point. That I mean, Paul, you made some fantastic points. That's a good point, Manny, in as much as, who would they give it to? I don't think there's enough leaders in and around the squad, in my opinion. And once again, there's not one focal leader. Whereas before, you could look at, Connor or Ruben, whoever, Matinho even, a couple more, Romain Saïss. There was a plethora of people who could comfortably take the armband.
Raul, Volley, you'd give it to any of them, really, absolutely, because they were all like leaders on the pitch, yeah.
And now there clearly isn't. With the strikers, that is one, area I'm personally very concerned on. Is Silva going to be the answer? I keep saying, I do want him to be the answer. Yeah, he scored against Blackpool, and, who was his other goal against? Has he scored in the league?
No, the other goal he scored he scored in the international game the other day.
Yeah,
right. He hasn't scored.
Right. So for me, I think the jury's still out, and this is a player now. I know he's been on loan and done well on loan, and the loan system does work, by the way. He looks stronger, he looks more mobile, he looks like he's got an eye for goal. But I haven't been to any home games this season because of holidays. But from what I've seen, he's missed.
There's only been one, mate, apart from the Blackpool.
But yeah, I went to Man United. Sorry, but for me, he's missed a couple of easy chances in this run of games, which is frustrating. But I say this, and I might get pelters, but I still don't think we've replaced Jota in any way, shape, or form. And he was a real outlet for me who could run at the defence, who could create a goal out of nothing. He had a hat trick in him. And this is why I went to Liverpool. But I don't think we've really replaced him. For goals, the player we have got to look at, and I don't think is everybody's first choice, is Hwang, because he's the one really which makes it happen. He's the one which can put the ball in the net. He's got a bit of an eye for goal. But listen, Kalajdzic, once again, he's recovering from a huge injury. He's been out for a season. It's not easy to come back from. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's one thing over the windows. We don't seem to go and look for it. I know every club in the league wants a 20-goal-a-season goal scorer. Every club, we're no different. But other clubs seem to be getting them. Not every club, but other clubs seem to, be attracting them and getting them. But we just don't. So that's the frustrating thing for me. We're always signing a midfielder. There's no end of midfielders. But I just think we've really got to focus on getting.
Jason, what's your? I mean, this is the $6 million question. The goals. Who's your front two or three for you? Because this is about the combinations and who you're going to get the best out of. Who's your starting? Who's your main man?
Well, I think Cunha and Hwang are a given for me. And then if we're going to go with three up top, would you go with Kalajdzic or Silva? And at the minute, I think I'll go with Kalajdzic. And once again, I'm not getting on Silva's back here, but I'm just not seeing enough of him in a Wolves shirt at the minute to justify starting as number 9 every week. I know that's his number, but yes, he did brilliant on loan, and I'm really excited about him coming back, and I still am. And it's still early days, but I'm just still not seeing enough. And forget the price tag now. That's gone. That's done. I'm just not seeing enough of him.
Paul, same question to you. Obviously about the striking options. Who's your, from what you've seen so far, what's the combination for you that's going to get the best out of this team for goals?
It's nice to have some options, isn't it? It depends what formation they're playing, and it depends on the style of football, because if you're playing a game based around getting crosses into the box, then you've got to have Kalajdzic in the box, haven't you, because he's such a threat. And it is worth saying as well at this point that Neto's got more assists this season already than anyone in our squad got last season.
Sorry, I forgot Neto.
Nobody got 3 assists
in the Premier League as well.
Yeah, at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, he's got 3 assists in his last 95 minutes. 1 at the end of Everton and 2 against Palace. So, I mean, I think Gary O'Neill's the kind of manager that will change the setup depending on the match. So I wouldn't be surprised if he went to a 3 at the back against Liverpool. Personally, I'm quite in favour of a 3-4-3 because I think it allows us to play wing backs. which suits the personnel in our squad. Probably shores us up a bit at the back because that's been a bit of a problem. And it allows us to play Neto in that high, wide left position. I think he's probably the first choice of the attackers at the moment, based on what we've seen from the last couple of matches. I think you've got to find place for Cunha in the starting 11 as well. We really saw the best of him against Man United, the way he drove with the ball. Cracking header as well against Crystal Palace. Yes, it was in vain in the end, but he was in the 6-yard box on the end of a cross, which has not been an easy thing for our strikers to do. And as the other guys have said, Hwang is probably the best finisher that we have. So if you had Cunha, Hwang and Neto as a front three, I think that would be quite exciting. I think Hwang could play that right-hand role and track the left back when from the opposition when they come forward. Cunha's not a 9 as such. I don't think anyone thinks that he is really, but could he drop off away from the centre backs and create space for midfield runners? Could he run in behind them? He's not an into-feet type striker, is he? Hold the ball up. But
Cunha likes to have the pitch in front of him.
Yeah. So I mean, the conundrum is, if you did play a front three, who'd you have down the middle? And does that mean that would mean probably that one of Hwang or Cunha has to miss out? But substitutions are such a crucial part of the modern game. So I think as a manager, you have to not just plan for your starting 11, but you have to plan for your second phase of the game, the 60-minute mark and onwards, really. So whatever team he selects, I think you have to have in mind what changes you're going to make as well at 60 minutes.
Absolutely, great point. And Manny, same question to you, mate. I know it's something goals that we've talked about for the last few years on the show.
Well, Percy did that article recently. He said Wolves are going to be looking for a striker in January. Well, we've been looking for a striker for about 4 bloody years and we haven't found one. So it's not, it's not, it's suddenly we're going to be looking for a striker. And it has been a problem. But let's go on to the positive side. Like I said, all 5 of them have found the net. Even the young Fraser. Sasha's scored 2 goals. That's pretty good, that is. That's Raul and Costa's total doubled for the season. So we've got to look at that. Hwang has scored 2 goals. Cunha scoring that header will give him a lot of confidence, and that was all down to Kalajdzic being in the box. The defenders are so scared of Kalajdzic that gave the free space to Cunha. Like I said before, I think we've got a lot of players that are perfect for the bench. Sasha's a really good player for the bench, and you throw him on with half an hour to go, and he gives you the defenders something different to deal with. Hwang literally plays all his great games or best performances, when he's off the bench. And when he started the other day, it just didn't looked okay, and then he was back on the bench again. And so for me, we've got to find a solution. And maybe it's time to give Sasha a go, because Cunha is not a number 9. He's not a striker. Every time he plays a striker, we don't even look like creating. When he plays with help, we look like creating. If you look at the minutes per goals when he's got a striker, 2 minutes per goals when he's completely on his own, it's chalk and cheese, man. Honestly, you've got to have another person on the pitch supporting him. And I just think Hwang, even though I think again he's natural, he gets in the positions. Like Paul's just said, this game's about 16 players. It's not an 11-man game anymore. When a side doesn't make the 5th substitution, everyone looks at the manager and thinking, oh, he's failed to use one of his substitutions, because other sides will be bringing fresh legs on. You saw against Palace, they brought on 2 or 3 players that changed the dynamic, and when we brought on Sasha, it changed the dynamic, and when we brought on Hwang, he scored a goal. So I've got an inkling. I've got a little bit of an inkling for Sasha and Silva, believe it or not. I just think there's something there that's completely and utterly untried. It's when they've been on the pitch very fleetingly on a couple of, I know they were only friendlies, just looked, because Sasha, for a big man, I've been really impressed. He can hold the ball up. He can hold players off. He's got a fair... It reminds me of Peter Crouch. Peter Crouch was a bit like that, where you thought he was all gangly and couldn't really... But he had a decent first touch, and he's got that type about him where the headers that he makes might not be the cleanest headers and the best strikes, but he's just got a knack of getting in the right place and getting his ear or his nose or something on the end of a ball, which ends up in the back of the net. So maybe it's time to start him. Then obviously it brings, where do you play Cunha? I think Cunha has been electric against Manchester United when he plays in that position. When he doesn't, he looks like he's completely out of the game, and then he runs around a lot but never gets on the end of anything. So just got to, again, find the correct position for him. And remember, we've got Bellegarde, we've got Enzo Gonzalez. We have got lots and lots of options, and that's what Gary O'Neill's job is. And I've just got inkling for Sasha and Silva, maybe, just to see what they can do, because I just think, especially against Liverpool, they won't have come up against a Sasha-type striker much this season. It gives someone like Neto, your rubbish crosses can end up good crosses when you got Sasha in the box. And that's what happens. He literally looked like not creating, and then suddenly, bang, bang, 2 goals. That Cunha cross was down to Sasha. So you could see two Crystal Palace defenders are drawn to Sasha Kalajdzic because he was in the box, and that left Cunha with a bit of room, And Cunha on his own would not have scored.
A really good point on that. It was one of the points I was going to make. When Sasha came on, they were so bedazzled by keeping an eye on Sasha that kind of Cunha got in thing, and that's good if he takes them away, and then someone else can come in and score. And he does draw players to him because of his height, and he's dangerous in the air. And also Pedro Neto, you have to say, he can cross the ball. His range had been a little bit off, going too long, but he started to get that ball being delivered into that, that sort of like danger zone in between the penalty spot and the 6-yard area. And we're getting goals from it, and his confidence is going to be up. The thing with Fabio, I know people say about Fabio, he's not good enough. This guy is good enough. For me, his runs and his movement is fantastic. The only problem that he's got, if you look at the goal, he scored against Everton. Okay, it was disallowed. He was like an inch offside. He's an instinctive goal scorer. When he's got no time to think, he puts the ball in the net. The goals that he's missed.
Some could say that about Diogo Jota. Was a bit like that. All his best, he scored a lot of goals, but they were instinctive, bang, bang, bang. And when he had a bit of time, sometimes they can go awry. So
strikers don't like time.
Well, they don't. I mean, they don't, Jason. They don't. And although they should, because they paid the big money. But like, the one thing I will say about Fabio Silva, his runs gets him in the position to be in the one-on-ones. What he's got to improve on is finishing, and is finishing the thing. So, there's an argument with strikers. Every striker goes on barren runs. We see it. Does he pull the plug on Fabio Silva now when he's only had 2, 3, 4 games? He did score against Blackpool. Again, it was a good finish. Do you persist with him? And then the goals start to come. Who's going to get us 10 goals a season, 10 plus goals a season? I'm going to ask each one of you there, out of all the strikers that we've got, who's going to get us 10 goals? Now, we don't know Dockers is on 2, so if you want to include him, you can. But Jason, who do you think? Do you think Fabio Silva will get us 10 plus goals this season? Sasha Kalajdzic, Cunha?
I think Cunha will, because he just brings a bit of a different dynamic. Hwang, I've just thought about that actually, because you I don't know why I didn't even mention Neto, but with Hwang, he doesn't want to be known as an impact player. Now play does, i.e., that was what Traore was known as in the end. But his game might be better. That's a brilliant point as well that Paul made about the games being substitutions, how they're changing games, how finishes, as they call them, game finishes. And to be fair, Hwang might be better suited to that role. But yeah, I reckon Cunha for me.
Cunha, Paul?
It depends who's going to play regularly. From our conversation that we've just had and looking at the comments as well, nobody's convinced about who is definitely going to start every match up front and be our number 9. realistically, I'm not sure if anybody will get to 10 goals, because if you look at history over the last 3 years, has anybody got more than 6? You know, since Jimenez's injury, I don't think they have. I think Fabio Silva will come good. I think his movement is good. I think we have to play the ball to him earlier and in front of him, not to his feet. That's not his strength. If you're asking him to play up front on his own against 2 big centre halves and have the ball and hold it up, that's not his game. But what is his game is making runs in between the centre half and the fullback. Bit of movement in the box from crosses. Don't forget when he came on against Man United, he had 3 shots on target in 15 minutes as well.
And there were difficult chances as well. The keeper was on an angle and stuff.
That's it. Yeah, I have faith in him, but I think we have to play to his strengths. So, short answer: I don't think anybody, hand on heart, will get to 10 goals. It would be great actually if we got a few penalties, because there's lots of stats about how few we get away from home. In fact, the last time we had a penalty away from home in the Premier League in front of fans, not including lockdown, was January 2020. So we've seen that Cunha is good on penalties. So if we got a few penalties, could he get 6 goals from open play and 4 penalties? Possibly.
So you're going Cunha then?
Probably more likely than not, because I think he will play more than the others as well.
Good points. Okay, so that's 2 for Cunha. Manny?
I'll go with Sasha. I will, because he hasn't played yet. He hasn't started. He scored a couple of goals. He's awkward. Crosses, rubbish crosses turn into good crosses. I'll go for him. Fabio, again, you know, I agree with what Paul said. And you said that he does get into positions, and he's got to finish. But we didn't get into those positions. We didn't even get into those positions last season. So that is a bonus. You know, that goal he scored against Anderlecht, he scored a lot of goals with crosses across the face of the box. A bit like that Palace goal, that first one, when that cross came at the face of the box and that movement in between the defender and the fullback, and he puts it into the net. Fabio makes those types of runs. We just never, ever cross the ball in that position. And when we did, he was offside slightly against Everton. That type of low cross behind the defence, and he runs, he makes movements back and forth. So maybe there's something there, and that type of finish will be more instinctive for him. It will be, the ball just flashed across, and he just pokes his foot at it, and he can probably score. Whether he scores 10, I don't know, but if he scores 5 or 6, and Sasha scores 7 or 8, and Huang scores 5 or 6, we'll probably be okay. So, because we didn't even do that, our strikers between them last year, I don't think they scored, 6 or 7 between them? It's ridiculous. So, on that note, we're not too bad. I think now what we're missing is actually goals from other areas. Neto's got to score. He's better than that in terms of his shooting. He's had a few situations. Sarabia has got to get the shot off as well, and not Dilly and Dally. We've got Lemina and Gomez, who aren't goal scorers. They just don't look like goal scorers. So that third midfielder is going to be key, whether it's that Bellegarde, whether
you get a few off a couple of the defenders.
Yeah, or Enzo Gonzalez, or it's we've got to take a bit of the pressure off as well. We could have a season where the only people scoring are our strikers. They're not scoring enough, but because we're not scoring from other areas. So, we've got to do more as well from. Even though Huang scored from a corner, we've got some big giants like Kilman and Dawson and Bueno's. This new chap, he's quite tall. Totti's quite tall. So why aren't we scoring more off set pieces and corners with height advantage like that? Paul's quite clear about penalties. A lot of strikers get 20 goals because they take penalties. 3 or 4 of their goals come from penalties. So yeah, I'll go for Sasha. Maybe 10 goals. I just think we've got to stick with our strikers. I think it's going to be hit and miss. I think there'll be a lot of rotation. And I'm just interested in this Gonzalez as well. He's another, very tricky, at the moment we're all
quite pacey as well as a good.
We're all going for Neto because he's the one. and maybe this guy's the other one who gives us a Neto type player on the other side as well. So we've got, you know, a couple of prongs there, and somebody cuts in. Obviously,
and hopefully the midfielders that we got coming in will get that creativity to drive through the middle of the park, which creates the space. I can see the argument for Kuna. I like Sasha. I think someone said he's got 2 in 74, but just for fun, I'm going to say Fabio.
Go on, mate. You say Fabio.
I know, just for fun, so it mixes it up a bit. Right, who wants to go first on the next one? Because this is going to be the season prediction. So Manny, Paul, or Jason, you've gone first a lot. So Manny or Paul, which one of you want to go first on the predictions? And I'm going to shout them out to you.
I have just spoke. Go on, give it to Paul.
Paul. Okay, first one. Where are Wolves going to finish this season?
I think roughly similar position to last season, and I'd be fairly happy with that. So I'll say 14th.
14th. Who is going to win the Carabao Cup?
Not us, based on our form in that competition. I mean, you could almost give Man City as an answer to any competition, couldn't you? Because they're not just strong in the Premier League, but they're so strong in that competition. So I'll say them.
Okay. Who is going to win the FA Cup?
I'll try and say someone different to Man City. So it'd be good. It'd be great to see a team like Brighton win it. I mean, they came close, didn't they, last year? Semi-final, wasn't it? They got knocked out. So let's hope maybe they can go one better, if not us.
Who is getting relegated from the Premier League and who's winning the league?
Man City to win. Relegated, I think most people will say the same 2 teams that I'm about to say. Luton and Sheffield United. I think most people will say that. I don't think that there'll be no hopers. I think they will pick up some points. I think they'll fight. I don't think they'll do a Derby County when they finished on 11 or 12 points. Because I think there's probably not much actually to choose in the bottom 8, really. So they will pick up points. But I don't think they've got enough to stop up. And I think the other team will be Everton. We've already beat them this season, which says a lot. They're
finally going to get sucked this year.
Yeah, they've flirted with relegation for long enough. They've not got a goal scorer, although they've signed Portuguese guy, haven't they, for quite a bit of money. He might turn out to be
or something.
Beto, is it? Yeah. But having seen them in person and seen them last season, I think they're a poor side, so I would tip them.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paul. Guys, just make sure you save your questions up because after we've done this, we're going to be talking about Jason's book and then Samosa's. Jason.
Yeah. I think we're going to finish around 15th. You know, I can't see us challenging really for the top half. I think it's going to be a long, difficult season, but I think we've got enough in the tank to make sure we're safe. So if we finish 15th, will I be happy with it? Well, I won't be over the moon, but, you know, obviously I'll take it given we've lost 3 out of the first 4. For the League Cup, I'm going to go for Spurs. I think, you know, they've spent the Harry Kane money.
Are they still in it? I thought they got knocked out.
Oh, have they?
Bloody hell, Jace.
Have
they got...
Spurs get knocked out.
Okay, well, I'll switch it then. So I'm going to go Spurs for the FA Cup. You know, I think James Maddison looks a really good player, you know, and I've always thought that. So yeah,
have they been knocked out? I didn't think. Okay.
I think they got knocked out. Yeah, they got knocked out. I'm sure I saw that they got some. Can someone confirm that in the chat about?
Yeah, so Jace can make his mind up.
No, hang on, I didn't get it wrong. I've got the cup competitions mixed up. I meant to say that Spurs are going to win the FA Cup.
Yeah,
and I think you know what, Paul. Once again, I think Brighton. Yeah, I think they're due something because very, very well organised club off the pitch, and they're a very good outfit on the pitch, and they're definitely the best side we've played this season. Bearing in mind we've already played Man United at Old Trafford. Fulham knocked Spurs out. Yeah, so Spurs for the FA Cup. Spurs for the FA Cup. Brighton for the League Cup. And once again, Paul, I think I've got to agree with you. Sheffield United and Luton, they don't seem to have invested too much. Yes, they had good seasons last season, but this is going to be a long, hard season for them. It really, really is. You can't see past them two. And the one for me, and these are definitely, they're well overdue. They've paid their rent far too long in the Premier League, Everton. I think it's their time, and I hope it is as well. And what was the other? Oh, winning the league, Man City.
Fantastic, Jason. And that was just a classic moment tonight. Spurs winning the Carabao Cup, and they've already been knocked out. Love that. But he did mean the FA Cup, really, didn't you, Jason?
I did.
You did.
Obviously.
Manny, over to you, mate.
Where do we start? What are we starting with, Dave?
Premier League, Wolves finished.
Premier League winners, Man City. They've won four out of 4. Not even out of first gear. Literally, if they can be bothered, they can win every single game. Honestly, they just seem that good with so many options. Unbelievable. And now they've got Super Matthias Nunes sitting warming their bench as well. So I think this is the most obvious winners of the Premier League ever. I just think they're gonna steamroller everybody. Mate, I'll tell you what, this is gonna be I just got a feeling it's gonna be the most predictable Premier League ever for winners and people going down. I just can't see it. So going down, Luton, Sheffield United haven't won a game, have they? They haven't even looked like winning a game. But I am gonna. Yeah.
Burnley haven't either.
Yeah, so Burnley is the one I was going to mention. I think it hasn't happened for a bit, but all 3 sides that came up are the ones that will go down for me. Again, all 3 haven't really strengthened. If they have bought players, they're not players that you think would jump out.
Flipping heck. Manny Fran's melted.
Technical side of things. Burnley. Who's the manager of Burnley? He weren't very happy. He's turned Manny on his head. Vincent Kompany. Where's he gone?
I think Manny's fans melted. And that's screen burn.
We'll come back to Manny in a second then. Oh my God. Dear, he's been having all sorts of problems. It might be the overheating. Anyway, we'll get back to him with regards to the Carabao, the FA Cup, and the Premier League, where Wolves are going to finish in a bit. Again, I'll come to me. I probably can't really say outside of Manchester City, but just to be a little bit different. Oh, he's gone again. He'll be back in a minute. Just be a bit. I'll go now. I'll just say Arsenal just for the fun of it, just to be different. Winners of the Carabao Cup. It'll probably be someone like Liverpool this year, I think. Maybe Chelsea. FA Cup. Probably City. I'd love us to have a good cup run, though. I'd love us to get to the FA Cup final. So you've got a dream, haven't you? My 3 for going down: Luton, Sheffield United, and I really, really hope, no disrespect to Everton fans, but I think at times Coventry.
No disrespect to Everton fans, but we hope.
Yeah, I just think, to be fair, it's their time to taste the Championship, because it might do them
especially
good
in that new stadium. It'll be like Wembley every week for the opposition.
Yeah, I mean, it's what it's like when you go down there. It's not easy, and they've been in the top. They keep saying we've never been. I think they'll probably enjoy the experience for a change, because it can't be good being an Everton fan at the moment. The last 4 or 5 years, they'll
win a lot of games.
So I think Everton, and in hindsight, it might not be a bad thing and the fans might enjoy the Championship for a bit, because they haven't tasted it for ages. It did Villa good, and they've come back. We were there for centuries, so it's their turn. And I am going to be incredibly optimistic about Wolves, and I'm going to go 10th place. You might laugh right now, but people laughed at me last season when I said we'd get 13th. Another laugh.
What did I think I said 8th last season, didn't I?
You might have done. So we'll go that. Hopefully, Manny will be back in a bit. So those are, and we'll get Manny's League Cup, Carabao Cup, which is the same thing, the FA Cup, and the position. Jason, save your questions up, guys, because we're going to do in the Q&A before we finish. Jason, it's time to talk about Tales from the Tape, Volume 2. Over to you, my friend. Guys,
so
we've got 250 of you here. Pin your ears back for this, because this is good.
Well, I've been working on the book now for the past 8 months. So I put an incredible amount of time into it. Amy's so angry with me because, I'm forever got my head in the laptop. I've done a lot of research and a lot of work, 36 former player and coach interviews. It's in chronological order. So the first one's Ted Farmer, then Alan Hinton, Bobby Gould. And then we go into the 70s with Jeff Palmer, Willie Carr, King John, John Richards. And then it moves through the 80s, the decadent 80s, one of my favourite eras. So we look at John Teasdale, the former striker. I want to tell you a quick story about John Teasdale. And then Dennis Conyard, who was a physio at the club. He tells some fantastic stories. And Greg Fellows, who was a coach under Tommy Docherty. John Teasdale, for example, he only played 8 games for the club. And, we don't really know, it's even the most avid of and ardent of Wolves supporters probably couldn't tell you much about John Teasdale. But when he left the club, he ended up, I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but he ended up being Rod Stewart's chauffeur. I mean, it's just an incredible story. Now,
Jason, just want to stop you there, because there are some fantastic stories, which I know that are a good thing. But, he's probably not one of the glamour people that you would think, but he's got such great backstories, like you say.
I think that's the one. And listen, don't get me wrong, Willie Carr, Jeff Palmer, John Richards, absolute legends. But yeah, a lot of their stories have been told and people have heard them before. But you know what I love? I love it when a player says to me, I haven't told this story before, Jason. And they put it out there. So we've got Jeff Thomas as well, who talks about his battle with leukemia. We talked to John Pender, who's currently battling motor neurone. Paul Stewart talks candidly about the child abuse that he so terribly suffered. So it's quite life affirming as well in many respects. Then we look at the 90s. So I interviewed Bully, Jackie Gallagher. I mean, Jackie tells a story about he was struggling with an injury, so he went to the vets, and the vet sorted him out. I mean, it's just honestly,
he went to the vets.
He went to the vets, and the vet sorted him out. And you know what? Jackie, I sent it to Jackie Gallagher, the chapter. He read it. He gave it to his wife. His wife said, "We're going to use his eulogy."
I'm so sorry.
Oh, here he is.
He's changed room again as well.
Mate, honestly, you know what I'm doing to keep this phone bloody cold? Oh, man.
You haven't got it on an ice
literally,
pack,
I've been putting it under, it's waterproof, so I've been running it under a tap to keep it cool, then plugging it back in.
Cold peas, haven't you?
Where was I going? Do you want to finish off? Okay, relegated the 3 teams. Luton.
Go on.
Go on.
Luton, Sheffield United, Burnley. What else was it? League Cup.
Yeah.
I'll go for Arsenal. FA Cup, I'll go for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Stranger things have happened. Yeah, you need some really dodgy, home draws and the odd bit of luck. So I'm going to go for it. What the hell? And Champions League, it'll be Man United, Man City again. I think they're going to steamroller it. And the surprise of the season, I'll go for Newcastle, where they'll flatter to deceive and they'll finish in the middle of the table. There you go.
I love that. Jason, back onto your books again, mate.
All right. Yeah. Sorry to disturb you.
No problem.
No, it's great. We needed to get it in, Manny.
So Dennis Conyard was a physio in the 80s, and once again he tells some great stories that at the end of a match at Molineux, he used to go around and collect the sock ties because they couldn't afford to buy sock ties. Greg Fellows tells a similar story. He was a coach under Tommy Docherty, and he said obviously Derek Dugan was chairman, and he said there was an away game the one time for the reserves, and they couldn't afford to pay the coach company, so we had to go up on a minibus, and there was only 12 seats. So we had to name himself the sub. And then on the way, back. They won the game, so we bought them all fish and chips, and then Wolves wouldn't let him claim the receipt back. And when you look at the club now, we sign in players 30, 40 million, and you see the stadium.
Was Jeff Shee in charge then? Was Jeff Shee in charge?
Well, to be honest, but listen, for me, it was a great era. But then, obviously, I said the book's chronological, so then we come up to almost present day where I interview. Yes, John Burridge is in the book. Yeah, Budgie's stories are just incredible. They're just incredible. John Burridge is in the book. We come up to near on present day, so I've interviewed Jamie O'Hara. He was very candid in his interview, and Matt Jarvis, which obviously lovely fella. And the last interview in the book, Steve Hodge, who was the coach under the bomb squad. And he talks all about selling Maradona's shirt, and how he obtained it, etc. So it's a labour of love for me. I really enjoyed doing it. It's hard work at times, but there's 36 completely different stories for so many reasons. Ted Farmer, an absolute legend. I think it was 47 goals in 54 games for Wolves. That's just unheard of. And he tells a great story about the FA Youth Cup semi-final against Chelsea. And it's just, you just can't believe you can't believe that these players are still around to tell you these fantastic stories. Ted's such a lovely guy. So Bobby Gould tells a story about his dad going blind and how it really upset him, and he got upset during the podcast. So I don't want to spoil it too much for people, but honestly, I'm so proud of this. So pleased. Wolves have already ordered 200 copies off me. Waterstones have ordered 50 copies. I've already sold 250 copies, so half are pretty much gone already. So I've only ordered a run of 1,000. I don't want people to miss out.
Have you received the actual books yet, Jason?
No, so they're going for print. We're just finishing the cover, and then they're going for print. All the content.
Amy's writing them next door.
and then it'll take 6 weeks to print that over here, just in time. Well, way before Christmas. So like I said, we'll only have 500 copies. I don't want people to miss out because it is, I'm not saying it's a great book. I've really enjoyed writing it, and I won't put my name to anything I'm not proud of, and I'm really proud of this. Paul Berry did the editing. Sam Bagnall's got me some amazing photos. Simon Padgett put the book together. It's exactly the same format as Tales from the Tape Volume 1. And go out and buy it. Support 3 great charities: the 1P36 Family Trust, the New Cross Neonatal Department, and Breast Cancer Now. The last book raised £20,000. So if we could, and the reason it raised 20,000, it raised 10,000, and then an anonymous donor donated 10,000 because he liked the book that much. So if he does that again, great. But it's if we can raise anywhere near £10,000, wow.
Makes a difference. Jason, how can people buy the book? Can you just WhatsApp me the link, and I can put the link up as well?
Dead easy. talesfromthetape.co.uk. You can go on there now. You can pre-order it, and as soon as they get to my office, I'll have the envelope wrote out. Being an envelope first class, you'll get it within a day of me receiving it. So talesfromthetape.co.uk.
So it's talesfromthetape.co.uk, everyone. So make
That's
sure
the one. Write it down, everyone. There's only 500 left. I want them all sold tonight.
Brilliant.
I'll tell you what.
Right,
when they get delivered to the office, 1,000 books in boxes. I didn't realise how much space they took up. So there's 3 of us carrying them around the office, boxes and boxes and boxes of books. Oh, look at that.
This is the website, yeah?
That's the book.
You go onto the book. You can order how many copies that you want. And
Here's the mug.
We got a mug as well.
No, sorry. I'm saying there's the mug that's on the front of the cover. Sorry, Dave.
Right.
Yeah.
So there you go. So just make sure that you check that out. How many copies are there left, Jason?
So Wolves have had 200, or maybe, I think they might be having 250. They said they're going to start with 200. So I've already sold nearly 250 already to the subscribers. So there's about 500 left. And once they get here, they're definitely going to sell out before Christmas. I'm not giving it the big one. I've just timed it. So, we've got the memorabilia fair coming up, and they all are going to go. And actually, the first copy, because it completely sold out, there's copies of that on eBay now, 60, 70 quid. So I think they will sell out very quickly.
Absolutely, mate. You've done a great job, and you work really hard. And I say, guys, everyone, it goes to raise money for 3 fantastic charities that are very close to the heart. Jason works really, really hard. The one thing that I will say is some of these players, they're getting on a bit. And these are stories that only they know. They're like real insights into the time and stuff like that. So it's I've got the first book. I'm in the second book as well. The quality of the book is, in terms of how it's produced, it's top quality. It's a must for every Wolves fan. So make sure you do look at that. We will put something out on the Always Wolves socials in the next couple of days with the links as well for you, Jason, too.
Thank you, Dave.
Manny, I want to go on to you now. And guys, save your questions up because we're going to do Q&A in a minute. Manny, Samosa Saturday on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Lovely sunny
Brilliant.
night. The women 3-0, great performance.
Yeah.
How much did you raise for that?
1,150 quid with a crowd of 646. So actually, it works out pound for pound more of a charity fundraiser than even the men's game. So it's absolutely amazing. It was good to do. I've got a bit of a connection with Stourbridge. Know a few of the players and the manager. Sort of worked with my son at school, and so it was a good derby to do. It was the match was spicier than my bloody samosas. I tell you, the manager got sent off. One of their players got sent off. There was like a few. It was a good night, very good night, a sunny night, and it's something that Stourbridge want me to do for the return fixture as well. They've already been in contact, so I did that. I did it last year. I went down there and did something with them at the War Memorial Ground. They're playing. It's a big step up for them, a very big step up, and they need all the support they can get. They are a local side, so I've got a bit of a soft spot for them. Brilliant. That was Samosa Saturday.
They had a great season, got promoted. A tough game, but
you know what? I just say to people, honestly, if you're ever at a loose end, just go down. I mean, it's like free of charge for a season ticket holders, and there were 650 fans there. On players come out, they'll meet the kids. Especially if you've got young kids, take them there, and they'll meet the players, and they'll take pictures, even when they've lost or had a really bad game. They will still make time for the fans. So it's a good way of seeing football, a very close hand. Brilliant. So Samosa Saturday we were going to do against Villa, but Hibs totally unbelievably failed to turn a 5-0 deficit.
Hello? Has he gone again? Oh, so Manny's disappeared for a second there again. I think it might be his phone that's overheated. So he'll obviously be back shortly.
I don't know nothing about samosas. I can't comment.
All I can say is that what Manny was going to be saying is that the Samosa Saturday, the next one will be against will be against Newcastle at home. I'm not sure what the date of that is, but is it in October? I think
it's the 26th of October. It's the Saturday. It's a 5:30 kickoff. So I imagine we'll be in town from kind of lunchtime before the lead up to that 5:30 kickoff.
Yeah, and he's also that's going to be for Dementia UK, which is also something close to my heart. I mean, me and you, Paul, we always try and help out on the store when we can on doing that. As I say, my mum, who did pass away from heart failure recently, and as I say, she was early stage Alzheimer's as well. So it is really good because it's an awful disease. But he's also going to be walking to Newcastle with his son Jeevan because he's mad. That's can walk even further than Chelsea. Hopefully he'll be back in a minute to tell us a little bit more about that. We're just going to go now to a Q&A. So if you guys want to just drop your questions in the chat box, then we can just ask the questions. You can have a question for Jason on his book or anything to do with football. We'll have Dr. Paul Mansell if you want to ask anything for him, and hopefully Manny will be back really shortly as well. One thing that we can tell you, that there will be another fundraising event that will be coming up, which we'll be announcing hopefully real soon. The reason that we've not boxed it all off and done anything major with it, obviously, is because my mum passed away. It's quite a lot to organise, but we're going to be doing a 7-a-side tournament down at Compton with all the major podcast and YouTube channels, the foundation, and including the Wolves media team as well. Jason could be batting for both sides, but because we want to make it really interesting, we've got players. I mean, he could play for us, type of thing. Obviously, as a main presenter here and always Wolves, but like you're gonna be entering a Wolf Whistle one as well, aren't you?
Yeah, listen, I'm trying to rope a few big names in underneath there. So I'm just checking my WhatsApp then, actually. So, yeah, the Wolf Whistle team, because it's got to have a connection to the podcast. So I've thought about certain players that I've interviewed, but I've sent a few texts out, so we'll see what comes up. But there's going to be a couple of ex-Wolves players in the team.
Mate, guys, listen to this. This is before the podcast. This is Jason. He went, "You might as well give us the trophy now," is what he said.
Should I tell you who I've text, Dave?
You what?
Should I tell you who I've text?
Go on.
Jody Craddock, Adam Proudlock, Kevin Foley, Stephen Hunt, Chris Ivalumo, Simon Osborne, Tony Dinning, David Jones, Carl Henry, Dave Edwards, Michael Kitely, and Matt Jarvis so far.
Oh, yeah, no problem, mate.
And I've still got to do Carl Akimi, Scott Goldborn, Matt Hill, Sylvan Ebanks Blake, and Johnny Gorman. If I can't get 10 from that, I'll have a go.
Jesus, yeah, you would be. We'd have to that would make you favourites, to be fair. But you have to bear in mind that you will have on our side, on the Always Wolves, you will definitely have me, Dr. Paul Mansell, and Manny, and we do play really intricate triangles. So with the Samosa connection and everything.
Listen, now I've seen you lot play. You're all good players. So now it'll be good, Dave, and obviously, yes, these events. There's a lot of hard work that goes into them, but you'll pull it off, Dave, and it'll be a great day.
Well, I'm hoping so, and it will be in support of the Wolves Foundation.
Brilliant.
We will be having the Talking Wolves boys, the Fancast, the 1877, the Wolf Pack, and all of those really good podcasts as well.
Yeah.
Coming, obviously, and as I say, the Wolves Foundation have got a team in, and we've got the media team, so it's going to be really good. So your guys are kind of hearing about it first, but we've got to. There'll be some official announcements coming over the next week or two, but it's going to be down at Compton, so you will be able to get a ticket, hopefully, to come and watch. And the date, I'm not going to tell you the date just yet, but hopefully some of you will want to come and enjoy the afternoon and early evening with us and help raise money for what is going to be a great cause for the foundation and raise awareness for them. Manny's not made it back yet.
Can I just say a big thank you, Dave? Sorry to interrupt. A big thank you. There's a few orders that have just come through for the book. Thank you so much.
Already,
there's just had another one now. So I think from just this, Dave, there's been 5 or 6 orders coming.
And that's great. And hopefully you'll pick up a few more, because this will go out on the podcast in the morning, as always.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And then there's always, normally a couple of thousand that watch it back afterwards as well. So,
excellent.
Hopefully you'll pick up a few more. But it is important because it is a great book, and you've been kind enough, I know, to put my put my mum and dad's name in the book as well, which is
absolutely, Dave. Absolutely,
which you didn't have to do, which is really lovely.
I think I think a lot of you, Dave. You do so much good. You support me. You've always supported me. You're a good bloke, and it's been so sad and difficult for you recently, but we're all behind you, mate.
Yes, I appreciate that, mate. That's really was a lovely touch, which we really appreciate. I haven't told my dad that. I will. He'll be absolutely chuffed. Manny, we were just obviously talking a little bit about that.
Manny.
If you just want to, and then we're going to go.
I've got to invest in new technology. My son's been away in India for 4 months. He's coming back tomorrow, so when he comes back, I'll get him on the case. Just update me. laptop and my iPad and everything's like bloody iOS 1, I think.
You just want to finish off. Is it the 26th of October? Is it the Newcastle?
28th, Newcastle United at home, 5:30 kickoff. Sort of apt because it's like 5 years to the first one against Spurs, which was an evening kickoff. So the home match against Newcastle. Longer. We probably need more samosas. I don't know how, but we'll try. Because we always run out and there's always a bit of a fight for the last one. So please come out, support the cause, which I know you will do. And I'm walking to Newcastle, so it's a Newcastle theme this season. It just seems to be.
That you're mad, but you got
the funny thing is, this is out the blue, and it's not complete coincidence that Dementia UK have struck a deal with Alan Shearer to promote some of their work. So he's now promoting Dementia UK's work, and it's just like, oh my God! And they got in touch with me and they said, we'll try and get him to sort of, promote the walk to Newcastle.
Brilliant.
Obviously, you're not going to find anyone bigger than Alan Shearer at Newcastle to try and drum up support there. And they're a big club, and their fan base has never always been a fan base that everybody is like knows, that really get behind their team and their city. So yeah, I mean, that, man, honestly, Dave, where do I start? Because I've been trying to plan it, and we've trying to work it out, and I've got a very good friend who lives in Huddersfield who's going to help with a lot of the stuff when we go through Yorkshire. So he'll be sort of following us and giving us supplies, and we'll be staying at his. But man, honestly, the more I look into it, it just frightens me. Some of the places we have to literally walk. I'm pretty sure there's like beasts and all sorts on that route, things that have never been found.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. This time we'll have to get you. We'll have to do a live mid-route podcast with you.
Oh, bloody hell, man! Honestly, and the thing is, it is mental, but already, I mean, literally already, people started donating a little bit. I haven't even started doing anything yet. And, fans of all football clubs, not just Wolves, I think when there's a cause and when there's, Jason knows more than anything, people just, I mean, Jason mentioned someone called Simon Paget, who's helped him do, the book. This is another unsung hero behind the scenes. He's got his own company, but he does a lot. And he came up with the Manny Miles and the posters, and he came up with all that. I'm not like, that's not me. And so you got lots and lots of people all around, different levels, different fields, who come and support, and they make it happen for you. Literally, they do. Yeah, okay, the walking's quite a big part of it, but it really does. It blows you away, and the more people interact with it, I think the more energy it gives us to. We were shoe shopping yesterday. Me and Jeevan were like looking for different shoes. What type of shoes we're
man? Yeah. 2 inches shorter by the time you get to Newcastle.
Man, honestly, and that guy doesn't know what's hit him, because he don't even walk to the bloody shop. Over the road. And he's like, I've done a few mad things, and I've told him, mate, I said, when you start struggling, I've got myself to look after. I'm going to leave you down the side of the road, and you can just ring your mom or somebody to come and pick you up, and because it's such a mental battle, such a, anyone who's done any challenge events, even when you run a marathon and do something really crazy, even though there's people around and they're supporting, it's only people who've ever run a marathon or done actually understand how the pain and the so many times you just want to give up and not carry on because your body's just
a reward at the end when you get.
I mean,
we'll cover this a lot more.
There's plenty of time. Obviously, it's next March. There's plenty of time for me to like completely do a runner and never to be seen again. Because it's totally bad.
Be a big
because
it's north, it's uphill as well. Right, we've got some questions to finish off on. Paul, can you answer this first one? Gary Haywood wants to know how many of the new signings are going to play against Leicester.
Liverpool.
Liverpool. Yeah, sorry.
None from the start. We might see 1 or 2 off the bench.
None for the start, 1 or 2 off the front. Okay, Jason, how many goals do you think Wolves will score this season in the Premier League?
How many goals do you think Wolves will score this season in the Premier League? I don't know. 55.
55.
Oh, okay. That'll do, man. That'll do. I'll take that.
Actually, now what am I about? Flipping heck, 45.
55. We scored in Nuno years, mate. We're not even didn't score that.
45.
45. Question for everyone. Manny first. What do you think the score will be against Liverpool?
1-1. We've got to get a point at home, so I'm going to go 1-1. And that will be a huge lift if we do that.
I agree. Paul?
Be easy to predict a Liverpool win, wouldn't it? But sometimes you get strange results at the start of the season and after an international break. So maybe we can sneak it 2-1.
No Van Dijk either.
I'd like that. Oh, yeah, he's got it's extended, isn't it, Jason?
I'm going to go for a boring 0-0. You can never back against your own club. So I'm going to sit on the fence there, 0-0.
Bloody hell.
There you go. 3-2. I'm going to go 3-2 Wolves. Fabio Silva hat trick.
What the hell?
Dave,
turn it off now. It's time to go.
I'm joking, but I'm being daft, but you never know.
Time to go.
Ian Jevons says, Jason, 2 books of ordered.
2 books ordered. Bloody hell.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Just trying to look down now at any other questions.
I've got a player to start against Liverpool. Bellegarde.
I've got a question for Manny. For Manny. Manny, who's your internet provider? Because I don't want to use them.
Mate, the internet's fine. It's the bloody hardware. Honestly, the internet's fine. I've got quite a new phone, and it's just overheating. I don't know. Maybe having all 17 social media outlets on at the same time wasn't a good.
Probably not.
Probably. Hang on, what's your thoughts on Jesse Lingard?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, let's be honest. No. It's a no. If we're going to sign Jesse Lingard, we might as well get Jermaine Pennant back. It's got that.
Get Gibbs White back.
He couldn't even get in Forest team last season. So
no.
Jesse Lingard is a big fat no from me, because we wouldn't be signing the Jesse Lingard that was at Man United 4, 5, 6 years ago. So no.
Okay. Trending right now also says pre-ordered the book, Jason.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Very, very kind. Thank you.
I'm just looking. I don't think if there's anyone else. Someone here, Man United fan, as a United fan, I hope you beat Liverpool. He believes we can. After the performance against Man United, I could understand why he would say that. Let's hope. I'm just having.
Maybe you just, we lift. We always seem to lift ourselves, don't we, against those types of opposition? So I don't think all hope is lost.
No, absolutely. I'm just seeing if there's any other questions as I scroll down to finish off. I think we've covered this, haven't we? Do we think Fabio will finally settle and start scoring? Yes, no. I think yes.
Yeah, I'd say eventually, one time he's 33.
I want to say yes, so I'm going to go with my heart and not my head, and I'll say yeah.
Paul?
If the team play to his strengths, then I think he can.
I love it. Absolutely brilliant. So guys, thank you ever so much for joining us tonight. We're at 1 hour 45 minutes. Make sure you order Jason's book. Put a lot of work in. It's a must-have. Manny, keep up the great work with the Samosas.
Yeah.
Obviously,
cheers. Thank you for all the support. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And Paul, looking forward to taking on the Jason's dream team in the content creation.
Dave, no one's replied yet. I think I've spoke a bit too soon. I'm going to end up getting flipping John Purdy and Mickey Hams. I'm going to have to get back to the 80s now. So
Manny, you missed this early. Did you see the players who was rolling off? Who was messaged?
Yeah, all the ones recently retired. Like the Henrys and the Edwards and we'll see.
And I said, what you got to watch out is like part of our squad is me, you, and Paul, and we play great. We play great triangles.
Yeah, we do. Brilliant. Yeah. Are we bringing our tennis rackets that day as well? I'm getting a bit confused now.
Manny, can't you got some samosas there?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's given, in it. Yeah, you're going to use that to sell to try and get some players in it. Yeah, I know what you're doing.
No, I'm not.
Like, listen, you lot are going to get samosas, and there's going to be some like sleepy stuff in the samosas, so you can start browsing off.
Good idea.
Guys, thanks ever so much for joining us. If you've joined us live, if you've watched it back on catch up, or you listen to the podcast wherever you are in the world, we do love your support. Sorry, obviously we couldn't do the pre-season one. I hope this has made up for it. As I say, it's my mom's funeral on Tuesday, so if you do. Because as some of you said, are you doing flowers or something? It is the British Heart Foundation. So if you wanted to make a donation to that, that is what you can do. And hopefully you'll see my dad back soon. I know a lot of you have been asking about him. I've been with him all day today. We've been doing a lot of work around the house, helping him tidy things up and stuff like that. It's an emotional time for all of us, but we do appreciate the love and support. It means the world. So thank you very much. Thank you, Lord Jason. Thank you, Dr. Paul, and thanks, Manny, for joining us again. And until the next one, we will obviously have another one during the 2 or 3 probably with us during the season. You've always got extra time as well, and any special shows that we do. Until the next one. From all of us, this is number 160, by the way, podcast 160. Can you believe it? We'll be getting close to 200 soon again. Need to look at something for that, don't we? Until the next one, always Wolves.
Always Wolves.
Thank you, everyone.